Hello and welcome to High Caliber TV, your source for figure and model updates every Wednesday and Friday. Today on Figure Friday, I'm going to be showing off two Bravo6 kits. They are special because they're troops at rest, and that's generally a really popular subject for armor modelers, but also for figure enthusiasts because it's such a... Okay, generally the way I think of soldiers when they're on campaign is about 90% of the time they're resting. They aren't doing much unless they're moving or fighting. In most of the rest of the time, they're just like sitting around, killing time, smoking, whatever. So these two kits are depicting U.S. troops, mechanized infantry in Vietnam at various stages of rest. The first one is the U.S. infantry sergeant, the mechanized infantry sergeant, and he's in a really great pose. He's just sitting around enjoying a cigarette. He's got personal protective equipment on, that early American flak armor that they wore, and he's really great because, so far as I can tell, he isn't intended for any specific vehicle. So you can have him resting on the side of the road or on a vehicle if you choose to do that. But I really like the idea of soldiers resting on the side of the road, especially mechanized infantry, where I don't know if when the convoy would come to a halt for a stop or just a checkpoint kind of thing, if they'd actually rest on the vehicles unless they were moving because they're such a big target. So he could really be great. He'd depict, you know, just a bro hanging out. Now, speaking of bros, the second kit is a pair of mechanized infantry. I think these guys are intended to be infantry privates. The title of the kit is actually Bros, which is apt, and they're really cool. The thing about this kit is that they actually have indentations below their thighs and I think on their shins because they're intended to be seated on a troop transport or some similar type of vehicle, maybe one of the Sheridans or something like that, an infantry support vehicle or something like that. But I'm going to show you after the video what I mean by the indentations so that you can see for yourself. The great thing about these indentations is that you can fill them in if you want and have them sitting on like the steps of a building, or you know, just having their legs dangling off a wall or something like that, but they really make a positive contact with the figure and the intended vehicle. It looks really natural, and that's really important if you're putting figures on a vehicle, because if they're like floaty and they aren't actually sitting on the vehicle, it's obvious. So yeah. So that's what makes these guys special. I want to say a note about mechanized infantry, especially in Vietnam. They tended to not carry a lot of equipment on their person, especially when the vehicles were in transit, because for obvious reasons like comfort and combat effectiveness, they'd sling a lot of their heavy backpacks and a lot of the spare ammunition, stuff like that, on the sides of the vehicles, or they just pile it up on the back or even inside some of the Amtraks and things like that. So for like if they were bumped in contact or something like that, they could just jump off the vehicle or jump out to the back and get right into the fight or get into cover, and they wouldn't have to worry about hauling all their gear around. So that in mind, these figures just come with personal equipment like grenades, ammunition, water flasks, personal weapons like bayonets, and their M16s, of course. They've also got helmets. And yeah, that's my little rant about mechanized infantry. I really like the idea of having these figures in and around an Amtrak, those marine amphibious vehicles, stuff like that. I always find those vignettes to be really great because it ties the vehicle in and it gives it a perspective, like you get a sense of scale. That's what the figures are for. So for all these figures and many more, be sure to check us out at highcaliberminiatures.com. I'll put the link in the description below. As always, follow us on Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter for daily updates on what I'm working on at the moment at the workbench, and also I have never mentioned this on the videos, but Alan and I do plan to attend a lot of IPMS or international shows like that, competitions, and even if we aren't personally competing, which we do, we'll be taking a lot of photographs, videos. We might actually begin to start interviewing some of the winners or just talk to people about the models at the shows, so that's another reason to check us out on the social media stuff. And don't go anywhere. I'm going to show you a quick clip of the detail on the figures. So thanks very much. Bye. So this is what I was speaking about. This is one of the figures in the Bros pair. So as you can see, the really super sharp detail on his webbing on the back, which actually allows you to put some extra stuff on if you're so inclined. But these are the indentations on his thighs and on his ass. And not a whole lot of work on the shins because they're away from the vehicle, but this allows for him to be sitting really naturally on the vehicle. And as you can see, I don't want to nerd out too much, but I just love the details like his bandana and the sweat towel that a lot of soldiers wore in Vietnam just because it was so humid there. So this is one of them. Here's the second. It's a little harder to see because of the casting block, but as always, you can just remove that easily. Super sharp detail on the fatigues, as always. I don't know if you can see in there, but there are indentations as with the other figure. So there you go. Thanks very much for watching.